Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They've taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they've put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you've put him, and I will get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that he had said these things to her.
Welcome. Glad to be back with you, broadcasting here from inside in Ottawa, Kansas. It is now truly spring outside. So with Easter fading into memory, the grass is green, the trees are green, the bugs are out, and we are stuck with the inevitable concept of spring. There's proof in the air. How much of it is not a spring that necessarily we expected because of what's going on into the world? Not the spring we had planned. Graduations are being canceled, high schools, colleges, places. This is not the spring I wanted. Please join with me in prayer. God, you give us proof, and sometimes that proof is hard to see. You give us seasons in their turn, and sometimes we don't want to believe how they are coming into fruit. You make things complex, and we want them to be simple. Please, help us to be open to learning about ourselves and the world, even when it's not what we wanted. Please help us not to block out the joy of what really can be, because we're limited, stunted by the reality of what we thought was. Please, God, in this time that is not as we anticipated, help us to see your workings and the majesty of your plan unfold in ways that we never could have fathomed. And through all that, God, give us peace, so even when we want to weep, we can squint through teary eyes and feel the joy that you give us. Amen.
Therefore Jesus said again, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. The wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd.
You know, watching the news now is interesting. I see all these stories about people dying and people sick, and I see hospitals overrun, all the stuff that you're all seeing too. And then, at least here in Kansas, and I would think, because I know Wisconsin TV some and Arizona TV, and it's sort of similar, I see these wonderful stories of people doing amazing things, little kids stepping up and thinking of cool things. I see all this stuff that would have never happened happening in the minds of old people. An elderly man, 100 years old, who walked back and forth with his walker and thought he'd raised $10,000 and raised like $1 million. These kids, 6 and 8-year-old kids who are trying to do amazing things. I think about how it must have been for Mary of Magdala, weeping at the tomb, thinking she knew exactly how horrible things were. Her heart breaking. An empty tomb. That wasn't what she expected. That is not cool. Someone has stolen Jesus' body, the ultimate insult now to injury. They're defiling it. It can't be a miracle. The proof then comes. Jesus says, hey. Mary says, teacher, Rabboni. And suddenly, what she thought she knew is totally transformed. We talk sometimes about forthtelling and foretelling. That was a moment where forthtelling came to fruit, where everything that she thought she knew had to be put into new perspective. It was a moment that came on the heels of a miserable, agonizing time where she watched the Jesus she loved die. These are sort of agonizing times. People are dying. People are suffering. People are hurting. People don't know whether to stay in now or go out, whether they need to seize their God-given inalienable rights to roam the earth, or whether they should stay in and not infect their brethren. We don't have enough tests to tell. In the midst of all this, what we are transformed by are old men with walkers raising money to help, and young children with projects, bringing hope to nurses who've worked long hours. It is a time of forthtelling, where every ounce that we thought we knew about Christ's message is being manifested, where we are tangibly being called to do hard work to bring God's ease. Mary then had to run off and tell people, hey, he's about, he's around, he's alive. That's not any different than what we need to do now. In all this stuff we see, he's about, he's around, he's alive. And we have the opportunity to tangibly manifest his mission. To bring joy in a sea of pain. To have hope when it doesn't seem like we should. To defy the odds and say that we can be more than pitiful humans. This is our chance to rush into the world and show God. So what's your charge then? You'll rush in the world and show God. Your charge today is a hard one, I think. In some ways it is defining what is Caesar's and what is God's. We live in a country where we believe that we have many rights. We do. We live in a situation with God where we're supposed to do and be part of society, part of common good and Christian society. I don't know where those things balance either, frankly. But somewhere between the push of real passions of small business owners who are on the verge of losing everything, and the reality of the fact that by going outside we could infect someone to the point of physical death, is where we meet in prayer. Your charge then is to pray. Friends, I don't think any of us have the answers, but I think God can work through us to manifest those answers. So many times I talk to you about Bible practice. You can practice what you want now. I think we are called to pray, conjoined together, to ask God for grace and strength and wisdom and all those things the world needs. Because truly, Only with God, through God, and through us can we make sense out of this time of chaos. Can we find a way to fulfill Caesar and God? This week, then, your charge is to pray that this spring, what emerges is a harvest that is more bountiful, more robust, more beautiful than we ever expected. Because many times out of the manure, those things happen. Well in your prayers, well in your week.
Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, opening to the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All thy works with joy surround thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, dale and mountain, flowery meadow, flashing sea, singing bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of heaven, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou our Father, Christ our brother, all who live in love are thine. Teach us how to love each other, lift us to the joy divine.